The darkest media produced by killers. True crime has a distinct appeal, drawing fascination and horror alike, particularly when it delves into media created by killers, whether writings, recordings, or artworks. These serve as windows into the disturbed minds of such individuals, providing insight into their motivations and psychological turmoil. This exploration allows society to confront complex issues like morality, mental health, and the roots of violence. The media killers produce not only reflects their heinous actions, but also speaks to broader societal fears and anxieties, opening discussions about the fine line between curiosity and the glorification of violence. Understanding these dark narratives and the psychological elements behind them can help society recognize warning signs, potentially preventing future tragedies. Leonard Lake and Charles Ng, chilling tapes and brutal crimes. One of the most disturbing examples of killers documenting their crimes is the case of Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. These two men, who met in the early 1980s, shared a fascination with violence, survivalism, and firearms. They abducted, tortured, and murdered multiple victims, primarily women, recording their horrific acts on videotapes. These tapes capture their interactions with their victims, showcasing the psychological manipulation and sadism that drove them. Lake and Ng's crimes were uncovered after authorities searched Lake's ranch, discovering bodies and personal belongings of their victims, revealing the extent of their brutality. Their tapes serve as a grotesque testament to their depravity, as they treated their victims as mere objects for their twisted amusement. The calculated nature of their crimes highlights the depth of their psychological detachment and their obsession with control. David Parker Ray, the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer, created one of the most infamous torture chambers ever documented, a trailer filled with instruments of pain, which he dubbed the Toy Box. In this chamber, Ray would subject his victims to psychological and physical torture, even going so far as to play audio recordings that described the fate awaiting them. These tapes heightened the terror for his captives, reinforcing his power over them. Ray's reign of terror came to an end when one of his victims, Cynthia Vigil, managed to escape and notify authorities. The subsequent investigation uncovered Ray's methodical approach to torture and abduction, with evidence that included not only his tapes, but also the tools and supplies he used to carry out his sadistic fantasies. The media Ray created, particularly the recordings, gave chilling insight into the depths of his sadism, and the case serves as a disturbing example of how killers can employ psychological warfare to break down their victims. Tori Adam and Brian Draper, filming murder for fame. The case of Tori Adam and Brian Draper is another chilling example of killers documenting their horrific actions. Obsessed with horror films, the two teenagers lured their classmate Cassie Stoddard to her death and recorded the murder. Their decision to film the act reflected a desire for notoriety, echoing the violent media they idolized. Their casual demeanor during and after the murder, combined with their obsessive planning, illustrates how deeply desensitized they had become. The psychological motivation behind their actions stems from their need to replicate the violence they consumed in films, showcasing how media can influence and distort reality for some individuals. This case underscores the dangers of unchecked obsessions and the role media can play in blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Peter Keller, Psychological Breakdown and the Escape to the Bunker. Peter Keller's case is a particularly tragic example of how personal struggles and mental health issues can spiral into violence. After murdering his wife and daughter, Keller fled to an underground bunker he had meticulously prepared, illustrating his intent to escape justice. The bunker, found stocked with supplies and weapons, revealed the extent of Keller's detachment from reality and his determination to avoid capture. Keller's actions likely stemmed from personal and financial pressures that culminated in a psychological break. His murders and subsequent attempt to evade law enforcement highlight the complex factors, such as despair, stress, and a desire for control, that can lead someone to commit such horrific acts. Keller's ultimate suicide in the bunker reflected his inability to cope with his circumstances, underscoring the importance of mental health awareness and intervention. Israel Keyes, calculated killer and the tragic murder of Samantha Koenig. Israel Keyes stands out for his calculated and methodical approach to serial killing. He did not fit the typical profile of a serial killer. Instead, he selected his victims based on convenience, executing his plans with chilling precision. The abduction and murder of Samantha Koenig in 2012 is one of the most well-known examples of his crimes. Keyes abducted Koenig while she was working at a coffee stand in Alaska, made ransom demands to her family, and killed her shortly after taking her. His use of a kill kit containing supplies for murder revealed his meticulous planning, and his confessions following his arrest showed an eerie detachment from his crimes. Keyes's case forces us to confront the unsettling reality that killers can often blend into society, hiding their dark intentions behind an ordinary facade. Exploring the impact and ethical implications of killer media. The media created by killers, whether through tapes, writings, or other forms of documentation, provides a disturbing yet valuable lens into their psychology. These pieces offer not just a record of their crimes, but also insight into their motivations, manipulations, and detachment from reality. Examining such media is essential in understanding the factors that drive individuals to commit heinous acts, as it can help society recognize warning signs and prevent future tragedies. However, the ethical implications of consuming this media must be considered. While understanding these narratives is important for learning and prevention, there is a fine line between education and the potential glorification of violence. The fascination with true crime must be balanced with responsibility, ensuring that the suffering of victims is not trivialized or turned into entertainment. Confronting darkness and gaining insight. In exploring the media created by infamous killers, we confront the darkest aspects of human nature and the psychological factors that drive individuals to commit unspeakable acts. These cases serve as cautionary tales, reminding us of the fragility of the human mind and the thin line between sanity and madness. By examining these narratives, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of human behavior, the societal factors that contribute to violence, and the importance of mental health awareness. This exploration is not merely an exercise in morbid curiosity. It is an opportunity to reflect on the human condition, challenge our perceptions of good and evil, and engage in conversations about the factors that drive violence. By doing so, we can foster a more informed and compassionate perspective on the human experience, ensuring that the stories of victims are not forgotten and that society remains vigilant in the face of such darkness.